Welcome to the Double Shot with your favourite cousins, James and Alex Fitzgerald. That's right. I'm a voice you may be familiar with, albeit a little bit more defeated.
Oh, man,
today.
we missed you. We missed you. But talk to me.
back.
How are you going? Bit of jet lag. I saw you had the big old hens party on the weekend. Maybe what's giving you more grief on this Monday as we record?
A question I've asked myself at least 5 times. Am I jet lagged or am I having a 2-day hangover, or is it a little bit of a combo meal deal? Have I got both? With also some shit food that I ate on the weekend to deal with my hangover. Yes, I had the hens. It was absolute frivolity. 6 of us plus myself, so 7 ladies, mostly mums and pregnant. I fall into neither of those categories, so had to lead the charge, cuz. I had to lead the charge, you know. We went into the city, we did bits and bobs and whatever, and then I didn't know what we were doing. And then we ended up at the Magic Men show. Yes, it is trashy, and yes, it is fabulous. I love being the most typical hens party of all time, but can you just, 150 ladies at their hens or 30ths or 21sts, like, you know, they're in milestones in their lives at a Magic Men show with strippers. The frivolity is, I've never experienced anything like that before. You're just making besties everywhere because they're all chicks having a wild time.
Get a hold of my
But frivolity.
Probably one of the few times I would turn down being in a room with 150 women, I got to say.
Yeah. I mean, look, these male strippers, right, like, you know, I guess it's somewhat of a profession, if you will, but they've got to put up with a lot. So, you know, I guess I take my hat off to them, but geez, it was the tackiest, most fun weekend ever, paired with a lot of jet lag. So, sorry if I'm a bit flatter than usual on this.
It's all right.
lovely day.
It is just lovely to have you back. I'm looking forward to the shimmy coming back. We've missed that. Mitch offers nothing in the way of the shimmy on the stat fact, which we'll get to later on. But I am curious to know, what was it like?
It's only a fraction less
What was it
than
like
you.
in the Big Apple? And specifically, talk me through, obviously, the news cycle here is still a little bit of COVID, inflation, interest rates. Is it different over there? What's going on in the big United States of America?
Let me tell you, cuz I feel like I heard the term "welcome to inflation" like 100 times from lots of different people. And look, I'm going to be honest, I didn't turn on the news whilst I was there. I didn't really watch TV. Like, there's so much to do there, of course. But it was all about inflation. That was seriously the buzzword. And I was just trying to recap before we recorded today what I was paying for 2 coffees. Just
2 hard starters.
have a bit of a guess. Now, guess 2 hard
Well, you're not
starters.
getting
Essential, daily essentials, if you will.
I mean, if you're not ordering oat
just
milk
have a guess.
and, you know, all the other rubbish that you do, I reckon you're only just getting change in Australia out of a $10 note today. So I'm gonna go with $10.
$10.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you don't pay materially less over there. It's just the conversion. 10 US.
No, mate, I think it's a little bit more than the conversion. For starters, I would like to inform you that I was drinking an iced Americano over there because I don't trust their alternative milks. So it was literally a black coffee with a scoop of ice times 2 for me and the boy
cheaper.
Dino. Yeah, it should. And on a small, which by the way is our large in Australia, it's mind-boggling stuff. $13. Once my brain converts that to AUD, it's nearly 20 bucks.
Buckaroonies. Geez, you'd be tempted to just stick to the blend 43, wouldn't you?
Yeah, tempted, but didn't do that because I don't commit crimes of that regard. I'd rather cough up the $13.
Salty.
No, there's crimes and then there's heinous crimes, and I think $13 is a crime, but blend 43 is a heinous crime. Anyway, $20. So it was a tap and an eyes closed and tap scenario.
I did notice over the weekend that there was screams for joy over in the United States because inflation, they actually do think that although you were probably hearing it everywhere, the news out of the United States is their inflation has gone from 9.1%, very, very high, to 8.5%. So it might be slowing down a little bit. Majority of the saving, though, was in energy and fuel, not so much in food and coffee.
Yes.
So that is a good sign for Australia, though, because if we've hit the top of the curve in the United States, generally an indication of what's to come in Australia in about 30 days' time. So fingers crossed for that to be the case.
It's definitely on another level over there, cuz it was a welcome change coming back to Australia and paying Australian prices.
Well, look, it is good to have you back. I am curious to know, what was the air travel like? First big international flight. I'm obviously going to be dusting off the boots to go and do that in a few weeks' time to go over to Europe there.
You are.
What's international travel like?
Yeah.
Is it convenient and easy still, or is it a little bit more complicated these days?
Look, I'll say I feel like half my Instagram's in Europe at the moment, but I went to the US via Tokyo, by the way, because, New York's on the other side of the US, so you got to find your way there somehow. We wanted to avoid LAX. Anywho, a breeze. Literally no one here in international, no one in Tokyo.
Really?
And literally I've never seen JFK. I've only been there twice in my life, but I've never seen it so quiet and all the shops are still shut. They're just not putting enough foot traffic through to justify those stores being open. So whilst it's a dream, you cruise through, you're not waiting in lines. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to do for 3 hours or, 5 hours if you're Mitch, because he's got anxiety. He's always worried he's going to be late. So nothing to do, but just eerie, but kind of enjoyable. I can't quite explain it. It's kind of odd. Nothing like Australians' domestic airlines at the moment.
Well, and some numbers out last week put your mob, Rex, your favourite, up in the bright lights yet again. They are performing the best for on-time performance and cancellation, sitting at 76% on time, which doesn't sound high, but compared to Qantas and Virgin, it is very, very high, 62 and 58% for Qantas and Virgin. Only a 3.8% cancellation rate versus 7 and 10% for Qantas and Virgin. So...
Oh, well, the times they've probably had to cancel, my blokes, they've probably had to cancel because one of those guys had pushed in front of them at the airport.
Your comments around Rex are absolutely supported by the data these days.
Oh, that feels good. It seems like, cuz the pecking order with the Australian domestic guys and then your trans-Tasman guys over in Air NZ, they're killing it. But your pecking order is Air NZ seem to be the most consistent, very popular airline. Then Rex got the best numbers, Qantas followed by Virgin. I'm a Virgin devotee outside Rex, of course, and it's not performing.
Mind you, still not making money. Air New Zealand forecast to make a $700 million loss this year. Ouch. That's a big one.
Is now a good time to buy shares?
Well, maybe it is because their share price is at 58 cents. Before the pandemic, it was around $1.90. Now, as with the previous week when Mitch and I started talking about shares, do not buy shares based off what we say. We have no idea what we're talking about. Little disclaimer, but...
Yeah, look, we've put the disclaimer in our notes.
Air New Zealand, if they perform as well as you say and the overall industry is on the recovery, then can only go up from here. Can't make $700 million loss too many years in a row.
I think as long as NZ keep their borders open, they're okay, but they might be subject well and truly to that stuff.
All right, so I'll get your attention back to this podcast if I can, please, Alex. One of your crusades has been working from home. Working from home. You've been trying to...
How is that
You've been trying
crusade?
to get our office down in Melbourne there to come in and join you in the office a bit more frequently. Now, I've been saying to you for some time, it's got nothing to do with the work from home. If you would only work from home, they would probably be there 5 days a week. But some new data has come out.
Never thought about it like that.
They've surveyed this mob, Australian HR Institute. Sounds very important. They have surveyed 1,200 companies and found 80% of them, if they're putting up jobs these days, are advertising the ability to work from home anywhere from 3 to 5 days a week. Can you believe that?
Yes, I can, sir. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Do you know, I wonder if that will change when our unemployment increases, and we start bringing, because it's really hard for people to get staff right now, let alone retain them. So, like, they kind of have, it's an employee's market.
True. I don't know. I mean,
yeah. So they have to sort of like tailor it to them in order to keep them there, to keep the bloody wheels turning over. It obviously depends if you're in the city, or not. But it kind of makes a lot of sense.
So 80% offering working from home privileges, a third of them saying that you don't have to come to the office at all, which I thought was really high. I thought, sure, maybe 10% would be in that basket, but a third of the companies surveyed.
They've probably got no office to put them in. They've written off that tenancy space to save some dosh. They're like, that's fine. You can work from home 100% of the time. No worries. I've finally got nowhere to put you.
Your desk is now the ping pong room. And then one step further. Now, this one I cannot believe. 54%, more than half of the employers surveyed, say that they need to put on social events, free coffee or meals to encourage their staff to come back to the offices. Surely not.
Are people really going to travel for that? I don't think they are. Like, because going to the office isn't only time out of your day if you're really far out, but it's also costly. Like, you got to pay to get in there, be it drive or public transport. So I don't know.
If you're having a couple of coffees a day, you could be saving up to 20 Australian dollars by the end of this year on 2 coffees.
I by the end of this year.
Well, if we catch the US.
Yeah, well, I still think that you'd be paying a lot more to jump on transport to get into the
Interestingly,
into the
2% of companies are providing disincentives, so they're reducing people's pay and benefits. And what
if they don't come into the office?
So I don't know who these companies are. I'd like them to be named. 1.5% are introducing bonuses or increasing pay for those who do return to the office. Outrageous.
Name and shame. Well, maybe not shame. Wow, that should have been our stat fact for the week. But I've actually brought other stat facts.
Nico. Stinger.
Do it, Nico.
Stat fact. The stat man.
Stat fact.
Oh, it is great to have someone on the other side of the screen do their shimmy. Mitch?
Yeah, I wouldn't know what it feels
Mitch.
like. I wouldn't know what it feels like.
It up. Just gave you one of my best.
Wouldn't know what it feels like.
What do you got for us?
Okay, so my stat fact for this week is research has been released by ASIC, otherwise known as the Australian Securities and Investment Commissions. And they've done a little bit of a look-see into first-time investors. And the number they came up with was that 44% of first-time investors held crypto assets in their portfolio. So first time you've ever invested anything, bang, it's in crypto. That's pretty amazing. Well, I don't know. I'm definitely the numbnuts in terms of crypto, but that's the story for another day. Anyway, that is second highest for first-time investors after investing in Australian shares. So the number one thing that first-time investors invest in is Australian shares. 73%.
That's very high.
73%. So next is crypto, which is 44%. And then the third, 31% of first-time investors invest in international shares. Very interesting.
That doesn't add up to
stuff.
100. So there must be a few people like investing in 2 things at once, I'm assuming.
Well, I mean, look, I think the other was just insignificant, so I just didn't pull it out for the stat fact. Jesus, what is this, an interrogation? Far out. We can't overwhelm and bombard our listeners with 75 sets of numbers so that it adds up to 100 for one James Fitzgerald.
Who have you been with? What have you been doing?
Be nice if we did, though. But we talked about earlier Air New Zealand and the fact that they were not making money. In fact, they were losing a lot of money. On the other side of the coin, one of the biggest banks, in fact, the biggest bank in Australia, they're making a lot of money, which makes it even harder to feel sorry for them complaining about having to pass on interest rate rises to their poor customers at the moment.
Why should we, why? They're passing it on. That's the whole reason they can't complain.
Correct. Their profit up 11%.
What do they want?
Commonwealth Bank of Australia made a nearly $10 billion profit. Not just revenue, profit of $10 billion. And the bits of data and stats that caught my eye was household deposits up 13%. So there was an extra $41 billion that was put on deposit in a savings account with the Commonwealth Bank in the last 12 months. And that was bested only by business deposits. So businesses put a combined $24 billion of extra savings into their accounts in the last 12 months, which was
it's only a little
which was
bit
up
more.
15%. So I would say that is a very encouraging sign for the economy. We're saving a lot of money, or at least we have over the last 12 months.
I love how CBA they've boosted their retail transaction accounts by 24% and their credit card approvals are up 29%. So woohoo, we're giving more people credit with 20% interest rates. Thank you,
And
CBA.
that's how we make $10 billion of profit.
That's the last little sentence at the end. Hey, we need to round out the stat fact stinger. We basically both gave stat fact.
How good? The double whammy, double shimmy. Hey, realestate.com, the number one search platform, followed distantly in second by Domain, cracked $1 billion in revenue. Can you believe that realestate.com collects $1 billion in revenue? I couldn't.
Really rich.
Absolutely.
What's an REA ad cost? $300?
Well, it depends, right? So you can get we've got $1,000 a month, like a developer subscription, and you can put up to I think it's 20 little loose listings, but they sort of fall back a little bit, and then you pay for the premier listing, which is about $1,200. $1,200. So it's. I can see how. $1 billion is a lot of money. $1 billion, but. And it's a lot of little bits of money, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of little bits of money happening, but you've got to look back to the last 12 months. It's been a ripper time, so I can see how that's come about. But
I guess they would be a product of the number of listings too. And there's been a record number of home sales in the last 12 months. So their revenue up 18%, their profit up nearly 30%. They made $400 million off that $1 billion in revenue. So very tidy little profit margin for realestate.com.
Hey, just a thought though here, Kaz, and let's not deep dive into this because I accidentally do deep dive sometimes. But when the market's not so good, REA would technically stand to possibly make as much money.
Okay.
Because people are working harder to sell their homes. But yes, there might be less listings. I don't know. But people might spend more to be more seen. You know what? I don't know. I'm just saying. But yeah, I'm sure that REA's profit is synonymous with how many properties transacted in a financial year also.
Very good year for the guys. Hey, speaking of realestate.com, one of the owners of realestate.com is Foxtel, and they have had a ripping year, no doubt helped by the realestate.com interest that they've got. Made $1.67 billion. That is a lot of money for Foxtel worldwide, and been getting a big increase in their subscribers, which I find interesting because it's very competitive if you're a subscription service these days.
Well, firstly, that should have been a fun fact. I didn't know there was some ownership crossing overs in Foxtel and REA.
Okay, so I've broken that news to you.
Interesting. You've broken that fun fact. That was very, very fun. Well, besides my Foxtel box being in the bin as of last night.
Controversial. You've left.
Well, not really. $150 a month, $150 a month, and you can go and get KO for $35 or whatever it is. And at Foxtel's total subscribers, it rose to 4.4 million paid customers.
Yep, very big across all three platforms, mind you. So 1.3 million of that is KO, 1.2 million is Binge, and only 1.5 million now is what they call the residential broadcast subscribers, which would have been you, and that's dropped from 1.65 million. So I guess what they're trying to peddle is that they are losing the set-top box subscribers, but but
It's
they're at
archaic.
least keeping them and pushing them into KO and or binge in the process.
Yes, smart,
And-
very smart. Whoever realised that transition.
Correct. And by the way,
was.
big week for binge with House of Dragon coming out, the prequel to Game of Thrones. I'm signed up, ready to go for next Monday, 22nd of August, for anyone who might not have been aware. But the House of Dragon, Game of Thrones prequel comes out next Monday. Very exciting.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. Woo. Hey, do you have any are any of the actors from Game
No, I
of
don't think
Thrones
so.
in that?
Fresh cast. So it's set something
Okay.
like 200 years
Interesting.
before Game of Thrones was set. And also very entertaining.
200
Very entertaining at the
years?
moment is we're at the absolute tail end of the AFL deal. And there's a bit of manoeuvring going on in the newspapers. In fact, Patrick Delaney, the CEO of Foxtel, has gone as far as to say you'd have to be nuts to put your sport at risk with anyone else. Strong words. He says we've got the best capacity to pay. We've produced the best sport. We've got the best ability to promote on our platforms, especially with News Corp. We've got a huge subscriber base at 4.5 million people. So he's absolutely thrown the gauntlet down that the AFL may be silly to go elsewhere, but I'm hearing that they're getting some big dollars thrown at them, the AFL, so it'll be interesting to watch that one.
Look, I'm not going to say anything because I might be on the inner sanctum there a little bit, Kels, so I'm just not going to say
She's
anything.
on the inner sanctum.
I'm just
Is
not
this,
going to.
do you run into
I'm
Gil at
just
the
not-
dog park again?
Look, yeah, I did, and he said, here's the non-disclosure agreement. I'm going to need you to sign it because I know you've got a very popular podcast with your cousin and you happen to be a pretty big mouth, and so does he. So, to sign an NDA at the bloody dog park. All right, we've got a lot of people making a lot of money the last few years, and we want to go through. I've actually they've given out these numbers: the top 10 highest average taxable incomes of the last year or last financial year, if you will. It was actually 1920, so it's late data, but data nonetheless. Number one.
Yeah, you want me to go?
You took a breath there like you're about to. You took a breath like you're about to say something, and then I was like,
No,
number
you
one.
had
I'm
me
gonna say it.
absolutely waiting for what you're about to say.
You are hooked. You are hooked. Income. Average taxable income of $406,000 per year. We've got the
That's a lot of money.
surgeons. Surgeons, I thought would have actually been on more money. I can't believe I just
can't
said
say
that.
That's an average. That's huge. Followed by anaesthetist, which does make sense because I guess the surgeon you're trusting with your life, the anaesthetist you're
Yes.
trusting to ensure you don't have to experience
With your
what it's
sleep.
like whilst they're saving your life. And then internal.
The surgeon you trust with your life and the anaesthetist you trust
Buggered
with
if
your
I know
sleep.
what an internal
Yeah, what-
medicine specialist is, but they've come in at third, and they're earning some decent coin too. Average 310,000, followed by a financial dealer. Sounds dodgy, and a psychiatrist. I'm really surprised that a psychiatrist gets paid so much.
Yeah, 252,000. Not bad. Not bad.
Well
Chunk of
earned, no
change.
doubt. And rounding out the top 10, we've got other medical practitioner, like internal medicine specialists, not sure what they do, judges, miners, engineering managers, and financial investment advisors. Rounding out the top 10.
There you
And speaking of surgeons, they have been awarded the crown, which is probably a kind of cool crown to get, as being not only the highest paid professionals, but the most prolific property investors. 43.
No way. I thought they just bought jet skis and
Well, they're
sexy
probably
cars.
putting a bit of property in to complement. And 43% of them, in fact, own property. So 43% of all surgeons also own property investments. High ratio.
I like that. I like that a lot. We got actually quite a lot of surgeon clients.
Yeah,
Quite a lot.
anaesthetists and internal medicine specialists coming in second and third. So the highest earners, also the top three when it comes to property investment. Psychiatrists, dentists come in. So dentists not in the top 10 for earners, but in the top 10 for property investment. School principals are in the top 10, not in the top 10 earners, top 10 for property investment. So some nice
Investors.
little fun facts. I'll tell you what, we could almost name this whole episode an episode of fun facts.
Fact. That pretty much wraps it up for this week. This episode's gone on too long. You've put on too much stuff. Get a hobby. Get a hobby or something, you know. I've said it before, but really you need to get that hobby back again. Like, are you not playing footy at the moment, or is everything okay?
I've got plenty of hobbies.
You should go dabble in some adult gymnastics with my 60-year-old father.
Your father has too many hobbies. Look, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you back. We missed you. We'll look forward to no doubt seeing you contribute a little bit more to the run sheet next week, rather than just complaining it's too long.
Not sure it needs it.
Guys,
Not sure
thanks
it needs
again.
it.
See you next week.
Ciao.
Thanks for listening to another episode of The Double Shot with your favourite cousins, Alex and James Fitzgerald. If you've got a burning question or something we absolutely need to talk about on the pod, please write to us. Both of our emails are in the show notes. For little real estate tidbits and a little bit of banter, okay, a lot of banter, you can follow us on the gram. Our handle is thedoubleshot.podcast. That, my friends, is thedoubleshot.podcast. Until next time, think of us when you sit back and sip your next double shot.